Hello and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I am Kenny Roy. This is the Ask Videomail for the week of May 26, 2014. Welcome to the site to you new members and welcome back to the old members. The Ask Videomail is your chance to get your question in character animation or performance answered in a video just like this one, but I need your question if I'm going to answer it. So please send it to webmaster@KennyRoy.com. I go through all the questions and I answer the ones that I think will help the most people. There's no such thing as a stupid question, and it is the best way to get the most out of the site. Well, where has the time gone? It is almost June. 6 months, halfway through 2014. What? It happened. Well, hopefully you guys saw my collabs announcement last week. I announced that collabs.arconics.com. I am really excited about this year's project. There is a huge amount of attachment, some really incredible people already a part of this project, and that is only good news for us because it means it has a much better chance of getting made into something bigger. So I can't tell you what those things are, so you need to apply so we can have a one-on-one conversation and you can decide. So go to collabs.arconics.com, check that out if you could, please. I'd really appreciate that. Otherwise, make sure a couple new projects as well coming down the pipe for Arconics. Make sure I have your reel. If you haven't applied, go to arconics.com/jobs and apply, because if I ever get a project in and I need animators, I normally go right to my database that's populated by all of those applications that are sent in. I normally don't post it up because there's just not enough time. I got to get people, got to get them in quick. Got to go. I work with remote animators a lot. I do mostly remote animation work. Modeling, texturing, compositing, those kinds of things normally have to be done here, but I do love working with remote animators. So, again, if that's you, make sure that I have your reel. Make sure that I know about you. Okay? Okay, good. Deal. All right, let's check out the question. You're going to love it. That's a fantastic question. I want to answer your question, but I also want to start with a little caveat, and that is this. In this day and age, saying that you don't have other animators around when you sent me this question in an email on the internet is pretty silly. Don't you think? It's a little silly. In fact, you sent this question to an animator. And part of the question was, what do I do if there's no animators around? So that's a little silly. All right. If you guys don't know this, I haven't mentioned this in a video mail for a little while, but I am entirely self-taught in animation. Character animation. I took a few Maya courses when I taught myself CG on 3ds Max, and back in version 1.2, I remember it well. And when it was clear that Maya was being used, back then it was called Alias Power Animator, and then it was called Alias Wavefront. I remember knowing, oh my gosh, I'm definitely going to have to learn to use Maya because 3ds Max just is not cutting it with character animation. So I took a couple Maya courses, but I never took any animation courses, entirely self-taught. How did I do that? Well, I did it using a forum. And in about 3 years, I amassed, in 2 different forums, combined about 10,000 posts. 10,000 posts in about 3 years. So, the fact of the matter is that if you take all of that time invested, it probably was way too long, way too much time invested in learning animation, but it was entirely possible to learn animation with no animators around. And I got my first job having done that. Okay, so fact is that don't think that you need somebody to actually be physically there to look over your shoulder. I would find some people, like if it's through a forum or whatever, post on a forum and see if there's somebody that's continuously responding to you. There were 2 people that were continuously responding to my posts on these forums. One of them is writing the blog on KennyWay.com. His name is Tim Sorman. Another guy is named Kev Riesinga, and he was in Canada as well. I think Tim and Kev actually were in the same town in Canada. I'm not sure about that. Maybe Tim can clarify. But yeah, so the plan for you should be find these people and see if if they're like continuously responding to like every single post you do in the forums or whatever. Then just reach out to them and say like, hey, can I have like your can we like do a Google Hangout, or can we chat once in a while, or here's my Gmail, and just add me on Google Chat, and whenever I need eyes on something, or whenever you need eyes on something, just send me an IM and I'll take a look. And you can pretty much recreate the situation that you're looking for by using the internet. In fact, let's say you and your buddy both get hired at the same studio and you're not sitting next to each other. You're going to be communicating through the company IM. If it's a big studio, they have their own internal IM system. So you're going to be communicating through IM with your buddies all the time. Primarily IM. So that being said, I mean, you're not only just sort of replicating the situation that you're looking for, you're actually getting a little bit of good practice being, communicating well through instant message and whatever. So I would just encourage everybody to maybe instead of posting like everything you do on Facebook or just in a forum, if you're a student, like the student forums on the school that you're taking, if it's an online school or anything like that, rather than just sort of doing like a blanket post and waiting for a lot of people to respond, I would say see who is actually active and develop a method for the 2 of you to help each other, or 3 of you, or 4 of you. I've noticed that a couple people, Kyle Bernard is doing some Google Hangouts, or maybe he's on Twitch, I can't remember, but he's on there. There is a Google Hangout that I see linked on Facebook every once in a while, and that kind of thing. So it can really be as good, if not better, than a work situation if you set it up right. So I just wanted to caveat this answer with that response first of all. When you're looking at your animation, the first thing that I keep on doing, I got out the old Anim Gym entries for April. Okay. First thing that I keep on doing is, and this is something that you guys should do with each other, is just go like this, just really quickly, like take the little sections and kind of go quickly back and forth. All right, and you can see in this section right here that something's not working. Body mechanics wise, something's not working. His hips are glued to the ground, his foot is glued, and there's nothing really explaining all of this movement in the rest of his body, right? Right. Just do little sections. All right, and what jumps out immediately are the problem areas. Okay, so right here, obviously, when he's moving backwards, and all of a sudden he hasn't even planted his foot yet, and he already has, he's slowing into this pose and changing directions. That immediately jumps out. This is a little bit of a different one. It doesn't really apply to that one. Really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give you guys methods that you can use to be a little bit more concerned with the pardon me, concerned with the blunt and the gross posing rather than the details as late as possible. When you're and in fact, part of the question kind of makes a little bit less sense than you might think, because non-animators that are giving you their advice, but they're not looking. The question said, but they're not looking at like the details that you're trying to polish. Well, that's why we show it to non-animators, right? We show it to non-animators because they are our audience. We want them to get the picture, first viewing, like once through. Right? Everything that you're going to put into a single shot is going to be seen normally once by a person, right? Even my favorite movies of all time, I don't really watch too many more times. Well, I mean, animations I've seen like, some animations like 5, 6, 7 times. I used to watch, I don't know why I'm talking about this. Anyway, probably the movies that I've probably seen the most is probably Star Wars, and I've seen them maybe 15 times, like a piece, like all the way through. Not 1, 2, and 3, but 4, 5, and 6. Anyway. Isn't that interesting? Great story, right? I'll tell it again if you have time. Why am I saying this? Because you watch your shot 15 times in 4 minutes, right? When you're working on it. So everything that you can get into a shot that is going to be viewed the first time through is what you're trying to have your audience react to. Okay, so it doesn't make total sense that you'd be lamenting the fact that they can't see all the little details that you're putting in. The funny thing is, though, if those details are missing, then the audience won't necessarily see it, but they'll feel that they're missing. All right, so animation is a job that typically, if we do it correctly, it's almost not even seen, right? The audience doesn't see the animation; they see the character, and they see the story. So, at any rate, so this method, and in right here, I feel like we're getting just like a little bit too much, maybe movement, like counter animation in the arms and legs, like in this section, while those hips are translating upwards. It seems like they're moving upwards like way too soon. This foreground foot is planting, and it hasn't even been planted for 1 frame when we already have the upwards movement in the body, but that's sort of counter animated in a way against that fast swinging arm. All right, and I got that impression from just like seeing how much movement there is right here. What is this doing? What does this method actually do? What it does is we give the advice to watch your animation forwards and backwards and slowly and quickly and in a mirror. If you have a mirror, you can actually, I think you can, if you have your player controls, you can actually just set it really quickly to play reverse, right? You can have it loop back and forth like this. And what did that do? That just sort of showed me that his shoulders are moving a little bit too much. But I only saw that played in reverse, really. Watch. You see that? It was when this happened, the shoulder's right there. And now when I go like this, I see that the shoulders are dropping a little unnecessarily. Okay? The reason these things work, let me show. If you go to movie properties, I believe, and you go visual settings, you can flip it like this, like that. Pretty good, right? Now we can watch it the other way. Man, those shoulders moving really point themselves out in reverse, don't they? Okay. So obviously you want to do everything you can to give yourself a fresh eye. I find that I can get pretty much everything that I need from doing this method of kind of going quickly back and forth. Like this feels floaty because he's in air, and how does his momentum stop when he moves forward right there? Like he's sort of slowing into this pose with no feet on the ground. Look, nothing is stopping him from moving forward right now, yet he slows down. It really becomes super, super evident for me when that happens. You also have to take advantage of the advice that I gave all the way back in the first lecture, I think, is the advanced workflow lecture, which is that you have to make all of your notes when you have eyes that are fresh. So I would recommend not play blasting and looking for one thing that's wrong and then working on it, because you're going to waste your eyes. Like you pointed out, go somewhere, come back even the next day if you can, then sit down and make an entire list of all the things that you see. Hopefully you'll give yourself enough notes that you can work all day on it, and you have something to do. And then when you're done with that list of notes, go to lunch, or maybe you're done for the day, and then do it again. It's a much better method than play blasting and watching over and 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 over. You just lose your eyes so darn quickly. One last method that I like to employ is I like to look at the character in a format that's a little bit different than I'm planning on, than I've been working on it. So if you've been watching, like for instance, this character in his sort of skin tone, plastic shader, then maybe throw a blue color on the entire scene and watch it that way. See if you're getting actually a different impression of the movement, because there's some lighting and contouring to the image, and that might change your mind a little bit. Another method that's along the same lines is if you're working in Maya and your background color is like the gradient or the light gray or whatever, then change it to the dark gray or change it to the black. Anything that can give you a different method or a different visual than you're used to, that's been kind of burned into your brain over and over and over, is good, is going to refresh your eyes a little bit in some way. If he has a texture, I would animate him without texture turned on, and then turn on the texture and play blast. Again, this might seem silly, but it's a small thing that you can do to change how the animation is sort of giving you an impression. And again, anything that you can do to change that will help, will work. And then, like I said, it's a little silly to even suggest that at any given point there can't be an animator around that can almost literally look over your shoulder if you do something like a Google Hangout. I would encourage you to look into that. Find people want to help, and they want to get help, so you can do a solid for somebody else at the same time as getting what you need to learn a little bit quicker. Okay, good question. If you guys have more, you know where to send them. Webmaster@kennywoy.com. Looking forward to reading more questions. Good luck with your animation, and as always, rock on.